Hello, and you're very welcome back to Series 6 of the Public Eye podcast, brought to you by Granite Exchange. I'm your host, as always, Sarah Travers. Lovely to be back with you today. And as you'll know, if you've been tuning in regularly throughout the series, I speak with local entrepreneurs and business owners to learn more about how their companies have come to be, to gain insight into their growth and find out how they continue to innovate. So wherever you get your podcasts from, remember to keep an eye out for all new episodes and subscribe to stay up to date. So who is today's guest? Well, I can tell you, for the latest episode of the series, I'm joined by David Henry, Director of Sprayform UPVC Painting Company. David, you're very welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks for having me.
So before we get chatting, I'm going to give you a little bit of background on David and indeed on his business. So following in his siblings' footsteps, David began his career studying teaching. And after qualifying as a teacher, jobs were few and far between at the time. So he ended up moving to Dublin to pursue a different interest, a love interest. And now his wife, Sarah, who has also featured as a guest on this show and indeed has her own podcast too from this very studio, The Activist Lawyer. But also during his time in Dublin, David worked in door-to-door sales, and he there developed a real passion for business. Following his return to Newry after he got married and working in education, he saw a gap in the market in 2019 and started up Sprayform as a little bit of a side hustle to the teaching. So Sprayform are specialists in repairing, refurbishing and recolouring existing PVC, aluminium and composite surfaces. Sprayform partners with leading door and window manufacturers, PVC installation companies, construction companies and homeowners to transform doors and windows at any location. That was a good plug for the business, David, wasn't it?
Yeah, sure was, sir.
So lots in there, and I'm wondering actually in this briefing, did Sarah have anything to do with the little intro to you there? There was a lot about her. So behind every great woman, though, there's a great man. So let's start with your story. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up?
Locally here, originally from Warrenpoint, just down the road.
So you're a local man, and you're back living here now
back in Newry now. So
a family man with 3 kiddies.
3 kids, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. But your first love, I suppose, was teaching and being an educator. But I think there was always a little bit of an entrepreneur inside. What was the moment that you saw that gap in the market?
So I've actually come full circle now. So I actually started out studying business here in Newry in the Tech. So
you started studying business at the Tech. So business actually maybe was your first love. Maybe you went down a different route first of all. Why the teaching?
Yeah, so I ended up going. I went to England and I studied teaching in St Mary's. To be honest, it was kind of all my family were very academic, and I felt I kind of had to try to be that way as well. Although I wasn't the best in school myself, and I was dyslexic as well, so I was kind of just trying to prove a point, and now I've kind of moved back into
and actually gone with what your gut was telling you.
Gone with my gut's telling me, yeah.
But that's hard to do, isn't it? Especially if you've come from a family and everybody has done certain things and achieved certain things. Were you not encouraged to think about business, or was it ever even discussed back when you were younger?
No, I suppose growing up in Northern Ireland at the time, the big thing was education. You had good education behind you, you have a stable background. The parents would have been really encouraging that.
So what did your parents do?
Both parents, one's retired, both retired doctors. One's still working. She's a 72-year-old doctor working through the pandemic.
Oh my goodness me! That
stays
calling
with you. That's a local dairy
you.
person like yourself.
Oh, for goodness sake, right. So she's from Coleraine originally, we were chatting there. So she's been working throughout the pandemic and no sign of retiring, or has this
I don't think
broken
she
her?
will. No, I don't think she will retire, no. She's passionate about it.
But you see, that's the calling, isn't it? That's the vocation.
Mm-hmm.
Your vocation seems to be spraying doors and windows to transform them. So talk us through where I did mention there that gap in the market. So what was the turning point?
So it was actually my sister. She found someone that could do it, and she'd mentioned it to me, but there was so few people out there that it was a very, very long waiting list, and I just thought it was a great idea, and I decided to go and find out how to do it. And so we started off with the likes of YouTube, did a bit more research into it, got in touch with paint companies over in the UK. Would have went over to them to kind of, you know, looked at their paints and learned their methods. So that's where it kind of started from.
So what does this actually give the customer? What would people have done before you could spray the PVC? You probably...
Well, there wasn't anything.
There wasn't anything
yeah,
like that.
You'd have to replace, and you know that's very expensive, and it's getting more expensive. The cost of all materials have gone right through the roof. So it gives them an alternative. I suppose some people might have attempted it with different paints, but you know, if it's not the right paint system, it's going to fall apart and start flaking, and it look terrible. We have seen some terrible examples out there that you can't. Once it's like that, you can't fix it.
So you had to do a lot of research, I'm sure, to get the right paint
Yeah, so we had to get the right paint
formula.
Yeah.
And how did you go about that?
So the market is much more established in the UK mainland. It's been going for some companies 20 years. So the paint systems were kind of industrial. You would have seen them in like your TVs and stuff. So it's a very, very similar process.
And did you actually go and do the job? Did you actually hands-on become the person who painted, or did you get somebody else to do that?
Yeah, to begin with, yeah, no. At the weekends, like Sarah would tell you, we started the business just the week after our second child, and I just had to go for it. And we first of all, we did our own house. Turned out very well. Some of the neighbours were asking about it, so I ended up doing the neighbours. Then some of the relatives said, looks good, did it with them. And yeah, kind of steamrolled. We put up some pictures on social media, and we had lots of inquiries, and yeah, we just started working through the backlog.
So the neighbourhood and the word of mouth, and people actually could see the results. How did it transform your own home? What would you say you went from to?
I really had to modernise it, definitely. I could just, because funny enough, when we did that first house, the people we bought the house off actually put in a message under the post to say, "Oh my God, that used to be my house." Like that, they were just shocked.
At the transformation?
At the transformation, yeah.
Right.
So it's still their same windows and stuff, but it just, you know, really helped to modernise that house.
See, I hadn't heard about anything like this before. I've heard about, you know, revamping your old kitchen cupboards or things like that.
Yeah.
But this, you know, there was a time when PVC and white PVC was everywhere.
Yeah.
And, you know, given the elements in this country,
Yeah.
it kind of gave you, you know, it wasn't going to rust or whatever. But it went out of fashion.
Yeah. It's a bit boring.
It's a bit boring. And
Although sometimes we're finding that there's lots, you'd have a lot of brown colours as well, and people want white. You know, so some houses it works really well. Like a house, a country style house, we did one recently, or just outside Lisburn, a beautiful big 10-bedroom house, and they had Irish oak brown, sort of tan brown windows, and it just didn't complement the house at all. So it was an English couple that bought the house, and they asked us to come and do it, and it just really transformed the whole house for them. So they just went for white, and actually it looks really, really good.
so you could paint anything.
Yeah, we can paint pretty much anything. We stick to what we're good at, but yeah.
This podcast is sponsored by Granite Legal Services, a niche business and immigration law practice located in the heart of Newry City. Granite Legal Services provides legal advice to both individuals and companies alike across a wide range of industries, from employment, commercial or corporate law matters to immigration law. Granite Legal Services focuses on providing legally sound, practical advice to its clients. To get in touch, visit www.granitelegalservices.co.uk or contact 028 3026 2200. Right, so talk us through then. You've gone onto social media. People are thinking, oh yeah, I'm quite interested in this. Did you see a big boom through the pandemic when home became very important to people?
Yeah,
even
we were
more
constantly
important.
busy. We didn't like. We are increasing year on year, just as more and more people become aware of it as a service. Yeah, definitely getting much busier. I don't know whether the pandemic. I think we would have continued to grow the way we were going anyway. As we get more staff, we could do more work. The more work we did, the more jobs we got because the word of mouth and people seeing the results. So I'm not sure the pandemic didn't affect us one way or the other. Other than it made life more complicated for everyone.
Yeah, and obviously then, you decided I'm going to move away from the teaching now
Yes.
and give this
Yeah.
my full attention.
Full attention, yeah.
So talk us through the whole process from the first contact with the customer right through to how you carry out the job, how it all works. Where are you doing this now? And
Sure.
I pick up the phone and say, I want new doors.
Yeah,
and
do
windows.
phone us if
Okay.
you want. There's no problem. We can sort you out. So
do make
people
a
normally
deal.
send us a message, you know, sort of either through Facebook or email us, or they WhatsApp. You know, we're all on the different things. If it's a small job, we generally encourage people to send a couple of pictures. We want to give them a kind of a rough idea of what's going to cost them,
Yeah.
rather than us having to travel all over the country to do the survey, and it's not within their budget. So a couple of pictures, we can kind of give a rough estimate. Then if it's a small job, generally we're happy enough to proceed with that. If it's a bigger job, we will go out and do a survey if we need, different equipment, access equipment and stuff. Then we just obviously put it in the diary and get it done for them.
Right, and deliver.
It's very straightforward.
It sounds very straightforward. And is it very cost effective for a customer? Because, if I have no idea of the cost, and obviously it depends on the size of the house and how many things you have to do, but would you say it's a great option and a cost effective option?
Definitely. It saves people a fortune. We work with so many of the companies that supply doors and windows. We know the kind of cost of these things. They get us to do work for them when mistakes happen. Yeah, if your windows are perfect order and you just want to modernise or change the colour, or
So also you're just wanting a refresh, but if there's damage there.
Yeah, we can carry some repairs as well if required.
And what trends are you noticing at the minute?
Well, when we first started out, grey was the big thing. Now we're seeing a lot more colours. We had recently a Lamborghini yellow, which is cool as.
Where was that?
That was actually not too far from here in Newry. I'm not on all the jobs these days, so I don't know exactly where it is, but not too far from here. We've had the likes of pink doors. Yeah, beautiful colours. I think with social media and the likes of TikTok and all the different things.
Visual, isn't it?
Yeah, people see these things and like, I want that. And I encourage them to do that. And then if they want to change it every few months, I encourage that as well.
Right, so that would be quite cheap to do, would it?
Well,
bring it on.
keep
bring
us
it on.
busy.
Right, you sound like you're busy. The fact that you're not on the jobs as much now. So how does it work? How much have you grown?
Yeah, we've grown year on year. We now have 6 guys working for us. We have 4 vans. We're increasing them. Yeah, it's very busy.
Are you recruiting at the minute?
We're on a big recruitment drive at the moment. We have a lot going on, and we're fully booked for the summer already. We're into we have coming up this month, Self Build in Dublin. We have the Ideal Show as well in Dublin. Love Your Home Belfast we're looking at as well. The Balmoral Show. So we're really, really pushing it. We have a new website it's coming out in the next few weeks. So we'll be everywhere. If you have anything to do with your house, we'll probably be there.
It is
or
so
have someone
exciting for you and completely different. Do you feel now that you've found your calling, your vocation?
Yes, I see it as I just thought it was a brilliant business idea and something I could grow into. I am very keen on business, and I do think it's something that's going to be around for a very long time. It's only going to increase. But we're always on the lookout for other business ventures as well.
When you start out and you are an entrepreneur and you're doing something different, so much of it is about being that front man, is about being that front person, is about doing interviews like this, is about going on the stands and the trade shows, talking to the people. Obviously, you did that in front of a classroom of children. How different is that for you? How much of a challenge is that for you to become a salesman, or are the skills transferable?
Yes and no. That kind of side of things, yes. The whole business side of things in terms of accounts and VAT and all that is a minefield for me. But then it's getting the right people to help you with that.
That's it.
Newry Moore is brilliant. There's so many successful business people, and if you get out and speak to them, they're so willing to help you. The chamber have been fantastic. We've had so much support really in the community.
And it is amazing. We have so many guests in this podcast, and I'm starting to realise actually that nearly everybody that sits opposite me who's had this great business idea, it's their creativity that's making the business work. And they all say the same thing. I hadn't the first clue about this, or I didn't know how to do what was net, what was VAT, what was this, what was profit, what was loss. And then they realise there's somebody else to do that. But really the vision and the creativity and the imagination to evolve and keep evolving was what made the business a success. Do you
Yeah.
believe that?
Oh, definitely. Drive, yeah. Blinkers on, just, yeah.
And how much support have you had then from people? You mentioned there Newry Chamber and support
Yeah.
of other, obviously this place is full of
Yeah,
entrepreneurs.
Yeah, this is it's packed, absolutely mental. The amount of people, they're just phenomenal business people. It's just getting to different places to meet them. Even just LinkedIn, send them a message, fancy a coffee, and just chatting to them.
And how do you manage it all? Because you've got 3 very young children. What ages are your little ones?
8, 3, and about 8 months now.
Okay, so not much sleep happening in that house as well.
No, definitely not.
And a very busy activist lawyer wife also. And now this brilliant new business. How do you juggle it all?
Terribly, but luckily Sarah's there to pick up all the pieces.
Oh, right. I'm sure you do she sees the bigger picture, you see.
She sees the bigger picture.
She sees that maybe she'll be able to kick back and relax a wee bit whenever you're...
Well, when I met Sarah, she was a solicitor, obviously, and I kind of thought she'd be my cash
Oh.
guy, but
Yeah.
hasn't quite worked out that way.
Well, do you know what? You sound like you're a good team. Is
No,
that
very much
important?
so. Oh, definitely, yeah. Team's so important, and family. Yeah, so they've really helped.
And, do you talk to Sarah about the business? Would she be involved in the business
I
too?
do, but if it's kind of technical side, she switches off. If it's anything to do with money, she switches off. She switches off on most things, to be honest. But yeah,
And I'm just
I
wondering...
soundboard off her.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what it's all about, really. I'm sure there's bits that you switch off around as well, but you've got that strength in each other, and, it is that team effort when both of you are working very hard and trying to juggle that with family life. It has to be a team. That's the only way to do this. In terms of your family, your original family, if you like, what's their reaction been to David the entrepreneur as opposed to David the teacher?
They've been very positive. My father especially, he was very positive about it. He just thought it was a brilliant idea. In fact, when I said it to him, he was like, you can actually do this. Because they have a nice big home. And he was like, I've always hated those windows. I was thinking when I retire, I was actually going to replace all the windows in the house. I didn't know I could do this. And I was like, yeah.
And I know a man who can do them for you.
Exactly. And he was very positive. Like, he was like, yeah, go ahead, you can do it. So we did. His one of the houses we did, and it's a great sample. In fact, we were back there recently, and we replaced all his fascia and his gutter and all as well. So yeah.
Now, tell me some of the more exciting projects that you've worked on, because you are very modest, but I think there have been some
we've
big
worked
jobs.
on Michelin star restaurants, 2-star Michelin star restaurant down in Dublin, Amster, and just sometimes they're little silly jobs, but they're nice prestige. We did the Cliff House Hotel in Waterford as well.
Beautiful.
And some of the houses we go to are stunning. Like, there's so many beautiful properties all across the country, and yeah.
And when you're looking for people to come and work with you, what kind of person are you looking for?
Most important, customer service. It's so important. Everyone hates a grumpy tradesman. So we have to be obviously respectful, but have a bit of banter with customers as well. Skill set, ideally, if we could find people that had all the skills we needed, then lots of people would be doing it. So you kind of have to train people up. So we're looking at people with the right attitude, most importantly.
So attitude is really important.
Yeah.
And what about those people who are maybe, looking for a change of job or to upskill? Would there be are you looking for other teachers, or are you looking for people that used to work in a factory, or could anybody actually upskill to this? How difficult, how physical and challenging is it?
I started this as a teacher, so I don't think it's particularly difficult. We have had a lot of staff going through that. They've clearly found it difficult. They didn't quite have the skill set. It's like attention to detail. It's willing to learn. The boys love it. It's a great lifestyle. They're on different sites most days of the week. They're driving around the country. The work isn't that physically taxing. It's you're not lifting big blocks running out there, and it's a skill set that we think is going to be very practical for so many industries.
And what about the safety and looking after the well-being of the staff too?
Yeah.
If you're using paints and things like that, would chemicals be an issue, and how much protective clothing do they have to wear?
There's supplied all PPE equipment that they need, masks. Storage. We've got units where we store paints as well.
So how do you see the business growing? Do you see yourself diversifying into anything else? Or are we going to stick with this very focused respraying? Or can you not tell me, or somebody will steal the
No,
idea?
100%. No, I'm always very keen to think of lots of other ideas. Ideally, I'd like to move into home improvements. But then people tell you sometimes to stay focused as well. It's a tricky one.
And who do you listen to for business advice?
I just bounce off anyone I can.
Do you ask a lot of questions?
All the time, yeah.
Right. So, to whom?
Any customers, business people.
So do you love customer feedback?
Yes. Oh, God, yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of people fear that, but that's so important to you,
Oh, no.
especially when you're building this business.
Yes. No, because the more I learn about social media and the importance of, like, I built a website in a weekend. I don't know anything about websites, but it's it's something there that people can go to and see some of our samples, contact
Give it a
information.
plug.
Spray-form.co.uk. We're having one updated now, so it should be much better and glossier.
And the word of mouth and the social media is so important too, David. Who
Yeah.
feeds that hungry beast? Because that requires a lot of photographs to be taken,
Yeah.
uploaded, and something to say about it, although it's pretty obvious what you're trying to say. But, do you do that, or does somebody else do that for you?
At the moment, it's myself. I do most of that myself at the moment.
Do you enjoy that side?
I don't mind it, yeah. Generally, the boys will send the photographs in. I'll pick sort of the best ones, and we put them up. And, yeah, we keep it short and simple. It's just like, this is what we've done, so...
And when you were doing the Michelin star restaurant or the hotel, how had they heard about you?
They came across us, just contacts. We would have met in different businesses. Word of mouth, really. Word of mouth is everything.
What's been the biggest challenge so far for you in business?
Not having staff in Cork, Kerry, Derry. Yeah, because we get pulled from pillar to post all over the place.
So if you had staff now, how big could this be? If you had the skilled workforce available?
We could be all over the country, Great Britain. To be honest, I think we could be all across Europe. You walk anywhere, you see doors, businesses, scratches, paint chips. There's any amount of things we could be doing.
Okay, but in terms of sort of costs to get off the ground, what do you do about getting the collateral for that?
Yeah, I need to learn more about that. At the moment, everything we just keep reinvesting the money in the business into buying more equipment, buying more vans, training, all that sort of stuff.
I think that's what you have to do, though, isn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely.
At the start, and then it will hopefully
yeah.
reap dividends. Would you like the children to go into the company?
Eventually. If it's still there. Well, sure, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a pleasure talking to you today, David. We always ask all of our guests on the Public Eye podcast what advice they would give to those people. And you probably above all of the guests, really, because you've been in another career for such a long time now. What if somebody's listening to this today who've always had this business idea, but they've no idea where to begin, or they're unsure as to whether the risk is worth taking? What would you say?
Go for it. Just fully
No
commit.
hesitation.
No hesitation. Blinkers on. Just do it. And listen, everyone's going to criticise you and tell you off. Yeah. If you think you have a good idea, go for it.
Do you wish you'd done this sooner?
No, I think timing was right. I think that timing was perfect.
Well, give us another plug there for the website, spray-form.co.uk. Wish you every success for the future, David. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Public Eye podcast. David Henry, Director of Spray Form. And remember to subscribe to stay up to date. We'll be back with another episode very soon. This podcast was recorded in Granite Podcast Studio. Interested in starting up your own podcast but don't know how? Granite Podcast Studio can help. Record your podcast in our state-of-the-art studio, which is based in the heart of Newry City. Our studio has cutting-edge and user-friendly technology and can seat up to 4 people. We also provide an editing service, where our team using your guidance and editing notes to provide you with a flawless finished product, leaving your listeners wanting more. For more information on how you can get started, visit www.granitepodcaststudio.com.